Hello everyone, I'm Major Jip, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this laptop. Now this is a Compaq something or other, I forget the model number right now. Just had it on the top of my head, forgot. Yeah, this was picked up off the side of the road in the rain, as usually seems to be with computers I pick up. I mean, that Dell desktop that I did a video about a long time ago, that thing was soaked. This one didn't quite get so bad. This was, it was raining, but not too severely. This was actually sort of propped up against a desk chair, which is how I noticed it. It was just sort of propped up on the desk chair like this, so all the internals were subjected to a little bit of wetness going right into the vents. And, I just noticed this, and I'll pick it up. And because I actually have a very similar Compaq machine. This is an Intel based, which we'll get onto in a little bit. I also have an AMD based one. Both of them share very similar characteristics, which I might talk about later on in this video or not. Also, try not to mind the workspace. This is a desk sort of being used as a workbench out in a garage, which I'm recording the video in here because it's nice and quiet, as opposed to the house where you just hear cars going by. Yeah, busy time of night, I guess. But so that's why there's power tools there, and you see insulation in the background. And the nice white tabletop has all kinds of marks and like wood shavings over there. But let's get on to the laptop. So, as you can see, it has a South of the Border label on here from, I guess, Dillon, South Carolina. And that logo, which I've seen it before, can't remember what it was, but I've seen that logo before. On the back, we see it's actually not in too bad a shape down here, except for this area where it looks like someone scraped the rubber foot off. Don't know why that would be done. As you can see, running Windows 7. Yeah, I mean, I'll show the product key. It's an OEM, HP OEM version anyway. I don't think it matters. I'm probably going to end up with Windows 10 on this anyway. One thing I will note right now is person who owned this before. Oh, by the way, this was thrown away without a power cord, though it takes the same one that most HPs and stuff take. Because this was after the HP, actually a little while after HP bought out Compaq, and they just started standardizing everything. I'll try and get it in a good light. But this screw back here was taken out, which caused this ridge over here because the top part of the case separated, and it cracked a hole right down there. Or, yeah, cracked right down the where the vent hole is. So, and I thought maybe the screw thread was ripped out of there. No, the screw thread's fine. I actually started threading a screw in, just left like that. Surprisingly, this thing does work, though it's not a happy sight inside. I've seen worse, but I've seen a lot better. Try to not get my face in view, and, well, for one thing, I never bothered to clean the screen. That's a bad sign right there. Intel Celeron inside. Yeah, sort of back in the day with Pentium 4s and stuff, they came out, I believe that's when the Celeron started, the faulty Pentium 4 chips that they started selling off as a budget-oriented processor. That was the Celeron. Go figure. And I guess they kept that going for some time. You could get this model in Intel Celeron or Intel Pentium, a dual-core Pentium. I don't know if it was a Pentium D or just the Pentium and it happened to be a dual-core. Windows 7. Actually, one more thing about this. Let me pop the battery out. Battery is pretty much shot by now, and it feels very light. I've had a similar HP machine that also had a 6-cell battery. I don't remember it being this light. So I don't know if that battery's just been cheapened up for this model or if I'm just going crazy. It could be either or, to be honest. If you look at the model number, let's see if I can get this in good view. Yes, it is CQ56-219WM. You know what that WM stands for? It was sold at Walmart. Yeah, HP did this thing. I don't know, they might even still be doing it, where all their sort of budget-oriented laptops and desktops would be sold to Walmart with the lowest sort of specs and have WM at the end of it. Or at least that's my understanding. I could be wrong. I did a very minimal amount of research on it. But, yeah, so let's open the thing back up. Getting the thing open's a bit of a pain with this model because they don't give you a lip to hold onto the screen with. As you can tell, touchpad, very worn out. You also probably tell this bezel up front here is popped out because they left the screw out and it doesn't fully seat because the monitor bracket sort of bent. That'll have to be fixed if I end up doing what I'm planning on doing with this. Keyboard's also disgusting, but that's pretty common with these sort of used laptops. One other thing. I just noticed this. There's supposed to be rubber pads over here all along the screen that gives a little bit of space so the keyboard's not going up against the screen. They're missing. Why would you pull those off? I'm figuring the person that had this wasn't particularly brilliant in terms of PC care. That's all I can say. It was also thrown away with all the previous owner's information on it. I mean, it was a locked Windows account, but, I mean, they make tools to get rid of that. And I usually throw my hard drives onto a separate sort of test bench anyway to test them, and you could get all the files that way. I didn't really know what was on this thing. I just saw that and figured I'd point it out. So, the original hard drive, I took it, and I ran through, I think, 7 passes on D-band. So, the previous owner of this, be happy, all of your files are deleted and are not accessible anymore because they've been overridden about 7 times on the hard drive. I did you a big favor. So yeah, but that's not the hard drive that's in this. It actually has a 240 gig, I believe, PNY SSD, which is way more than this computer can ever really make use of. In its current state, anyway. It has 2 gigs of RAM, I forgot to mention that, which was nice. I was kind of expecting it being a... This Celeron, by the way, is a single-core processor. I'd figure it's like the, maybe it's the Intel Pentium dual-core with 1 core not working properly that they turned into the Celeron. Don't know the whole story behind it. But this is a single-core processor, clocked at, I think, 2.2 gigahertz. And so I was kind of expecting it to have 1 gig of RAM, but it has 2, which is nice. So there's that. I guess there's... Yes, so I have an SSD running. I don't have Windows on it because it was slow as molasses. Even doing a clean copy like Windows 7 or Windows 10, I mean, you start just getting the basic tasks and startup, and it starts... Yeah. Single core... Not too good of an experience. I mean, Windows 10 was serviceable. Windows 7 was a whole lot slower. It shows you Windows 10's a little bit better with handling slower or less powerful hardware. Though really even Windows 10 tablets and stuff nowadays have quad-core Atom processors. So, I got my my actual HP cord for my main laptop. I'll plug this in. And it does turn on. Let's actually see if I can get it into setup and give a better look at as to what processor this is. BIOS setup F10. I don't want to exit. Okay, there we go. That should hopefully be pretty clear in the camera's view. Yes, it is a Intel Celeron. Oh, I don't see the model version of the processor. And factory installed OS, primary battery, serial numbers, whatever, from 2010, which is a whole lot newer than I thought it would be. I kinda... 6/17/2011 was warranty start date? I wonder if all this is correct. If it is, this computer is a whole lot newer than I expected it to be. Which it could be. Fan always on. Yeah, you have a few options. Mainly just the Presario BIOS vendors inside. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I can find out from there. Let's let this thing boot. Yes, I have, surprisingly, this is a 64-bit processor, which is fairly interesting. I was kind of expecting it to be a cheap 32-bit, but it is, in fact, 64-bit. Yeah, that was abrupt. Ooh, I don't even know if I'm going to have internet out here. Establish some sort of connection. Actually, the LXLE does, I think it's LXLE Linux, does work pretty well utilizing a single core processor. Oh yeah, I do have internet. That's surprising. Yeah, LXLE. And if I have enough internet to show, this thing will even handle, if you really want to push it, 720p video streaming. Really, like 480p is the best thing. I loaded a couple music videos just to test it. Basically, the first things I could think of. Yeah. Okay. Well, as you can see, the ad's not loading up, but then again, that could be due to my internet connection. I don't really care for this keyboard. Oh my goodness. Never mind. I give up. I give up. Yeah, you have the Ubuntu Software Manager. It's actually running Kden Live on here. And it worked better than you'd expect, though not quite good enough that you'd want to use it, pretty much. But the computer does run, and it has 2 gigs of RAM. So, I do have plans for this thing. My plans are to give it a couple upgrades. The first thing, this supports, like I said, either a Intel Pentium dual core or the Celerons. So I'm going to be swapping out the Celeron for a Pentium dual core. I forget the number on it. But the Pentium dual core, you could actually still find them. It was brand new from like a bulk pack where you buy like one processor, you can buy a bunch of them. It was like $8. I also ordered in, what's nice about this is it has 2 gigs of RAM, and that's 2 gigabytes on one stick, so it still has an open slot. So I ordered a second stick of 2 gig RAM to go in the other slot. 'Cause I think you can put a max of 8 into this thing, oddly enough, for a budget machine. So I'm going to upgrade the processor, upgrade the RAM. Hopefully it'll take the processor. From what I'm seeing online, since they did ship a model with that processor, you can upgrade it, just as long as you have the most recent BIOS or something like that, which I did a BIOS update on this. And the battery is completely like destroyed. I mean, half the time it even shows a warning when you load it up saying the battery's not holding a charge. It'll last like 2 minutes running. So I think I might even make a video about trying to pull this thing apart and do an upgrade. If I take it apart and manage to kill it, I think it'd be disappointing, but not too much is lost. I mean, the CD drive still works, so that's good. You could always use another one of those, because this is a SATA CD drive. I mean, you got the hard drive caddy. I gotta pull it apart and clean the fan, but the fan bearings sound good, so even if this thing doesn't work out, I'll still have some parts out of it. So, yeah, I hope you sort of enjoyed the sort of all one take kind of video about this machine. I didn't want to make anything too crazy. Just wanted to sort of document what I came across. So anyway, that's it for now. Yeah, I might make a video later on once I get the parts in, because it was cheap anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching. Major Chip signing out. Well, not over quite yet. I was just reviewing the footage and realized there's a couple things I didn't quite go over. One in particular. That is, I have a very similar machine that is AMD based. And now they had 4 models of this machine as far as I could find. They had the Intel single core, which is this one here, that's the Celeron. They had the dual core, which of course is the Pentium dual core. Then they had an AMD Sempron, I believe, based machine. That was a single core. And then they had it was either a Sempron or an Athon. I don't know what model they were using then. But then they had an Athon dual core. And the machine I have is, like I said, it's very similar to this. It is an AMD single core based machine, which you can of course upgrade to a dual core. There's also people online that have apparently taken that machine and updated it to a quad core, a certain quad core processor that seems to work with those things, which would be pretty interesting. That's a big jump. Yeah, that machine was also found on the side of the road in the rain. Of course, everything I find happens to be in the rain for some reason. So yeah, pretty much I just wanted to go over that because I realized I mentioned then didn't go anywhere else. I'm sure there's other things I mentioned that didn't quite go over. Like I said, I'm probably going to do a follow-up video of trying to upgrade this thing. So hopefully that'll tie up any loose ends when I do that. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. Major Chip signing out.